Welcome, Boondog. This is Bryce. I saw Mortal Kombat 2 over the weekend, and I'm going to quickly go ahead and rank all the fights because that movie was amazing. And just in case you guys haven't had a chance to check it out but want to know the fights, I've got you here. Or if you have and you want to know my opinions, I've also got you here. Just a quick warning, some spoilers will be through the video. So just keep that in mind, and we'll get that started right away. Coming in at 11th place is Johnny Cage versus Katana. That's not saying that there's anything bad about this fight. It's quite the opposite. It's definitely intriguing because it's one of the few fights that is, I wouldn't say different because every fight is different, and they did an excellent job in the film highlighting each fight that have different traits and different skills that kept everything feeling unique. But this comes in a factor where it's near the beginning of the film, so Johnny Cage is still coming to terms with the Mortal Kombat tournament. He's still in disbelief. So this was more his eye-opening, a moment when he's figuring out what's going on with this tournament, and that this tournament's not just CGI, which he was when he was at the temple with Raiden and the other combat fighters for Earthrealm, but he's still coming to terms with it, and this is the ultimate push that he needed to kind of realize this is a not necessarily what he was thinking. And with Katana coming out victor, because Johnny wasn't trying to fight, he was just surviving. He was running around the village that they were fighting in, and Katana ultimately came out the victor, sparing Johnny's life in the process. All right, so we got King Jared versus Shao Kahn coming at number 10. This match doesn't really have too much going on that really stands out, other than it does begin the plot narrative of Shao Kahn taking over in Katana's world and pretty much setting up that hatred between her and him at a very early age for her. And it's all before the title card. It sets up that sense of dread that comes with Shao Kahn as well. As you can tell, like, King Jared's not going to win this fight, but he's giving it his all. He's showing to Katana that determination, and that ultimately it does come out that he's not the victor. A lot of good hope spots, though. Even though you kind of knew that Shao Kahn was going to win this fight, I did have some like moments of hope spots where I was like, wait a second here. Maybe something's going to happen. And ultimately, though, it did show out with Shao Kahn getting the win here and killing King Jared. So definitely not necessarily anything, like I said, crazy, but was still pretty cool and a good way to introduce the movie to the fans. All right, coming in at number 9, we do have Jade versus Jax. This is a fight that was probably the more standard fight of the fights in the movies. And again, that's not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. And like I said before, every fight is unique. It's probably the most standard, but you need standard fights as long as it has something that you know contributes to the film. In this case, it does with the dialogue that Jax and Jade share, where it sets that seed in Jade's mind that maybe she's on the wrong side and maybe she should start to think about Katana here. And ultimately, it does. It does set that piece in her mind of, am I doing the right thing? Am I on that side? And do you see it directly? No, but it does show that later down the film that this was impactful to her. So I would say that overall, because of that, and it still was enjoyable watching the dialogue that they had. So again, I really enjoyed this fight as well. All right, we got Sonya Blade versus Sindel up here in the number 8 spot. This match is a little bit more crazy on that end compared to the matches we reviewed so far. It does have a room where there's spikes coming out at any moment in the floor, the ceiling, or the walls. So that was a little bit of craziness there going on, and very quickly, it was a quicker fight than the others in some ways, but it was the speed that it needed to be. It felt like had the right pacing there. Wasn't too long, wasn't too short in its welcome. And Sonya does pick up the win, impelling Sindel in the head with one of the spikes. So pretty cool to see both of their powers in play there, and it was really awesome to see that overall. Jax versus Shao Kahn. This comes in at number 7 here. We've got the two fighting off a very short fight, and it did ultimately come down to Jax being killed, impelled by the butt of Shao Kahn's hammer that did have a spike on the end. So it went through his throat, and it was very disappointing to see that because Jax was one of the standouts to me in the movie. I really enjoyed him in the first movie as well. So ultimately, it was a bit of a bummer to see in this one, but really not much to really add in this fight. Now, guys, you may disagree with me here. A lot of you probably will, and that's okay because I've got Sonya Blade and Luke Kane going up against Shao Kahn here in the number 6 spot. Again, completely understand if you disagree with me here because a lot of people would probably say this is one of their favorite fights in the movie. And it is an excellent fight, a lot of great visuals. It does show, I didn't mention this in the video so far, but if you didn't see the movie, in the Mortal Kombat tournament in this movie, there's 5 flames on each side of uh, the realm. So what it is when Sonya Blade got knocked off, her flame disappeared. So it was either implied she was knocked out or dead. And then it came down to Liu Kang versus Shao Kahn for a few minutes there before Shao Kahn impaled Liu Kang. And we didn't see a body. He didn't die necessarily, but he did ignite in the flames, mentioning from something that Raiden told him earlier in the film. And he kind of said that, hey, this is along the lines of, I understand now that this is not my purpose. My purpose is elsewhere. And ignited into flames and went off into the air. And it's not confirmed that he died, but we don't know where he went and what happened to him. So I'm very curious to see what they do with Liu Kang in the third film. I assume he'll be in the third film, especially not confirming that he's going to die. And they also set up a plot point late or earlier in the movie as well with where his story development was heading to. All right, let's address the elephant in the room here, the Cole Young situation. A lot of people were not a fan of Cole Young in the first Mortal Kombat movie, and because he's an original character from this franchise and this version, this era of Mortal Kombat. So a lot of fans, for what reason or the other, they did not contribute very well. They did not like him when I guess it's taken up character development time that could have went to someone else. So very disappointing to see because his character's got a lot of interesting points there, especially having that history of being an ancestor or Scorpion being an ancestor to him. And he's got a really cool moveset and style, and Lewis Tan is a phenomenal actor. So definitely really disappointing. I won't try and spend a lot of time on this because I could go on a whole tangent about this because I am a Cole Young fan. I like Cole Young. Should he be the main character? Maybe not, but should he be a major player? Yeah, and this fight showed that. He showed that he was doing incredible. He actually won. If you guys haven't seen the film yet, go watch it again. Like I said, incredible film. But Shao Kahn had taken Raiden's powers early in the film, and he's now invincible no matter what. So actually, Cole Young quickly beat Shao Kahn, slit his throat and everything. Just ultimately, it came down to Shao Kahn kept healing. So no matter how many fatal blows Cole Young kept giving, which he pretty much wrecked Shao Kahn in every aspect of the film. So, did he go out fairly quickly with only having 3 minutes total of runtime in this movie? Yeah, he did, but he also quickly eliminated the competition beforehand. It was a losing battle. I mean, you couldn't beat someone that's invincible. So again, very frustrating to see him go out and the producers in the movies. I understand they're trying to right their wrongs, quote unquote. But you should have moved him to a supporting character. There's nothing wrong with keeping him as a key player and adding new characters to the lore. Uh, Even if the Ed Boon and the other franchise aren't planning on adding him to the games at least anytime soon, I wanted them to stick with it in some aspects. So very disappointing, but again, completely understand why they did it, and hopefully, he'll come back and they'll bring him back as a prominent character because it looks like there is a lot of fans out there speaking about it that they support Cole Young and like to see him in the franchise and see a place for him in this franchise because he did incredible. And at least if this is it for him, and they just don't bring up Cole Young when they revive the other fighters in MK3, he did go out as a hero, and he went out pretty much he as an incredible fighter because he destroyed Shao Kahn. So definitely really cool. So we go from Shao Kahn beating Cole Young to Johnny Cage beating Baraka, and what is probably the most entertaining and enjoyable fights as far as on the comedic end of the movie. Definitely thoroughly enjoyed this piece right here because the two of them fighting, and more so like the other match with Katana and Johnny Cage, is Johnny's running around and he instigated the fight, and he was pretty much shit talking and instigating, trying to get Liu Kang to have the fight with Baraka. But ultimately, Baraka got mad and wanted to fight Johnny Cage. And so watching them run around and him pretty much try and throw things around at Baraka was really enjoyable. So to see Johnny get a proper win here was great. And I think it was going to be a part of the movie that everybody's going to laugh and enjoy. All right, we're in the top three now. We've got Scorpion, we've got Kano, and we got Johnny Cage taking on Noob Saibot. While not addressed as Noob Saibot in the film, he's just addressed by his real name, Bihan. A producer out there had mentioned it was something along the lines of, if I'm not mistaken, I could be completely taking this out of context, but the fans of the movie may not know who that character's name is, so but they know him as Bihan from the previous film when he was Sub-Zero. So I believe that's the exact reason. I know that's out there for y'all to check out. If not, definitely check that out. But overall, the film was excellent in this fight. This 3v1, but it really wasn't one because Bihan had all these clones coming up and fighting them at the same time. So seeing the three of them, especially this being Kano's only like real fight in the film, and same with Scorpion, it's cool to see them showcase here. Definitely didn't see Scorpion being a part of this film too much because there wasn't much of an avenue until they had introduced Bihan into this part of it. But it was really cool again to see the fights that filled the intensity because you didn't know if Raiden was going to get his powers back because Shang Tsung was hunting him down. He was about to stab him and ultimately finish him off, but they were able to win, beat Noob Saibot, and restore Raiden's powers, or he was able to be safe. Because at this point, a lot of people have been killed off in the movie, so anything could have went. It could have been anything goes there. So I like that. I like that there's stakes to the movie, and you feel like no character's safe. So definitely really cool. Again, awesome to see Kano, Johnny, and Scorpion pick up the win here. Katana wins in one of the most emotionally filled fights in the movie. You could feel the build up throughout the movie as Katana's won in the fight. Shao Kahn, and this is the penultimate fight. This is it. This is the fight that everything goes for, and it was absolutely insane in all the ways it needed to be, and freaking amazing. It showcases Katana as a major player, and honestly, you could say she was, if not the main character, a main character of this film, and it really established her to the audience. This that may have been this first time seeing her in the franchise, and she freaking killed it. Again, nothing but great things to say. The choreography was insane. Just seeing the moves that they would use to fight, just being able to feel the emotion and the impact that everything built up there, from seeing her father die to Shao Kahn at the beginning of the film to watching how it manipulated or he manipulated someone that was a sister to her with Jade, and seeing all this, finally build up to this moment was awesome to see Katana get the win here. So definitely love to see it. Really highlighted her in the best way possible here. In the final fight on this ranking system is, and how could it not be, is Liu Kang and Kung Lao. I mean, absolutely insane. The visuals, the cinematography, just the story that was there. Seeing the two of them fight, brothers that grew up around each other, and see that confliction in Liu Kang, that he did not want to fight his brother, and that he sees that he's corrupted, and that he wants to try and bring him back to the light, as he could not do, and ultimately, and it did have this most one of the two most impactful emotionally and just visually. It was really cool to see between Liu Kang's fire and Kung Lao's hat that just was like a chainsaw. I mean, we all know that style. If you don't, you definitely need to look it up. But it was just the way that they complemented each other in this fight was just absolutely insane, and definitely instills the idea of Mortal Kombat is a great fighting company as far as creating stories, telling stories, showing fights that matter. And it just had a lot of emotion, a lot of impact, and makes me excited to see where these two stories go. Ultimately, Liu Kang did win by having Kung Lao fall down on his own hat. That momentum, that representation that you fall on your own sword there. The corruption did get him in the end. So very curious to see how they take the story in MK3, and love to see what they do. But ultimately, that is what I've got to say today, guys. If you enjoyed this list, definitely let me know what your favorite was in the comments below. Look forward to talking to y'all more in the future, and have a great day.